Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com. Welcome to the podcast. This is your host, Seth Greene. Today I have the good fortune to be with Rusty Reynolds from Reynolds and Reynolds. Rusty, thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
A pleasure is ours. Let's dive in. Let's go back in time. What inspired you to go to law school in the first place?
Well, I graduated from college in the early 90s, and managed care was taking place probably in the mid 90s. So I had gotten a job in healthcare administration, and managed care was closing hospitals. And so there was a depression in the healthcare industry. And so instead of getting my master's in healthcare administration, I decided to go to law school to be able to hang out my shingle. But also, I saw the evils of what managed care was doing and taking away the medical decision making away from the physician and the patient and putting it into the insurance companies. And so I thought by going to law school, I would be able to have a better influence in protecting quality patient care by doing that.
That makes a lot of sense. How did you then pivot to what you're doing now?
Good question. I got an internship with a firm in Fort Worth, Texas, and that firm was making a name for itself in suing HMOs. Okay, and at that time, HMOs were making medical decisions. They were practicing medicine, and so that firm was holding HMOs accountable for negligent care and for damages caused or injuries, harm caused by their negligent medical decision making. And so I was working with that firm and another firm in Dallas, both doing the same thing, splitting my time. And at that time, Texas passed a law that allowed patients to sue their HMOs. But that did not last but a couple of years because there is a federal law called ERISA that says that suing HMOs is preempted if it's in a federal employee-funded program, meaning an employer who self-funds their healthcare program can claim preemption by ERISA, and that prevents state law from being used against them. The thought of that was they wanted to encourage employers to have benefit programs like health insurance that and they didn't want them to be burdened with 50 different sets of rules and only one set of federal rules. And so that's what the Supreme Court said. So I pivoted to just traditional medical malpractice against healthcare providers who were injuring patients due to preventable medical errors.
Awesome. And then I'm sure the longer version of that journey could probably fill a book somewhere if it hasn't already.
Right.
Talk a little bit about the origin and evolution of Reynolds and Reynolds.
Okay, so I stayed with the firm in Dallas who had started suing HMOs. Kaiser Permanente was in Dallas, and they ran them out of Texas. And so then we focused on suing healthcare systems and providers, and then tort reform hit Texas, and meaning they put caps on non-economic damages because there was the fear that providers were leaving Texas, like Kaiser Permanente leaving, inadequate access to care. And so they passed a cap, and that did cause the firm I was with that had been together over 20 years to to close their doors. And then I went with one of the partners, and we continued to practice for about 6 years. And then retirement set in for that gentleman. And then I got with my sister-in-law, who is a registered nurse and attorney, and we opened up Reynolds and Reynolds and moved it to Frisco, the new home of the Frisco King, if you've been reading up on Sheridan's latest project. And we've been going ever since.
Well, congratulations on that. So, what does the practice, what does it look like now? Who's an ideal client for you, and how are you helping them?
Yeah, thank you. An ideal client for us is somebody who, due to tort reform, you got to have a feasible case because the big expense of medical malpractice is hiring experts. We have to have experts that can talk, that are qualified to talk about what happened, what should have happened, and whether that was a substantial factor in resulting in or causing the harm. And if you think doctors charge a lot to perform surgery and diagnose and treat you, it's a factor of 5 or 10 for their opinions. They're very proud of them. In addition, it's hard for them to go against, a fellow practitioner. And so that also lends to the premium of their fees for opinions. Okay. So, with the tort reform of a cap of $250,000, you can easily see that you can get upside down. So we look for cases that are feasible, that have a catastrophic damage model that can absorb the cost, but still benefit the patient and provide that principle of justice, that we are, wanting to achieve for the community.
That makes a lot of sense, and you've had some incredible results. On the flip side, what are some of the biggest mistakes patients make when it comes to something like this?
I think the biggest mistake is, we have, I use the term cognitive dissonance because we trust our doctor more than we do our own spouse, our parent, or child. Okay. And so when things don't seem right, they don't pass the smell test, we kind of have that overriding trust that just keeps us going. And it's good to have a patient advocate to be able to ask questions, to be able to get that second opinion. I mean, second opinions were born out of healthcare, medical decision making, not any other industry. And so it is well within your patient right to ask for a second opinion, okay? Or even get a third opinion, especially when it's dealing with something serious that has a ton of risks to it. So I think that's probably the biggest mistake is out of convenience. I want to see this doctor that's in my suburban town that maybe only does a few of these, where if I travel 30 minutes, because it's not like I'm going every day to the big city, but that doctor is going to have a lot more experience with, the type of treatment that I may be requiring or needing.
That makes a lot of sense. And can you talk a little bit about some of the results you've been able to achieve?
Yeah, I mean, case selection is very key with personal injury because it is 100% risk. Every case we take, we are fronting the expenses to develop and prove the case, okay? And our fee is contingent on getting a recovery that's for our client. And so, we have to make sure we take cases that are feasible. We have to make sure we take cases that, have a chance of succeeding. And, whether we've got a succeeding in the terms of a settlement or, going to trial and having a jury side with us.
You've helped so many people. What's the biggest challenge you're facing now?
The biggest challenge is really, I mean, it goes back to feasibility. There are we get probably 10 calls a day. We take maybe 5 cases a year, okay, on medical malpractice. It's just it's difficult because you want to help everybody that calls you, okay? Just like when we were in healthcare in the hospital and people are coming to us with diseases, illnesses, injuries, we want to help them get through the process as painless as possible and as successful as possible. We just can't take every case. So the biggest challenge is trying to deal with potential clients that we can't help, but we really would love to.
Your passion is obvious. What do you like best about what you're doing?
I love being able to get a resolution for a client. Now, there's no amount of money that can reverse a catastrophic harm or a loss of a loved one, and that's just plain and clear. but I do love being able to walk with them side by side through this process as they're grieving the loss of their loved one or the loss of their prior life as it used to be before the injury, and dealing with getting the provider on board to accept some responsibility for what happened. And that there's just no better satisfaction than that.
You talked about investing the money in a case to build it up in the hopes of getting a recovery. So you're putting a whole lot of cash and time and expertise in the hopes of getting it out. As a business owner, how do you manage for that?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, we use our own money, so you have to budget it. Okay, so the idea is typically your expenses, are capped at, or you want to cap them, limit them at around 10% of the potential value, settlement value, or potential recovery from a jury, because that's if you do more than that, that's where you risk, getting upside down. Okay, and so we do that. There's a lot of the folks in the industry, my colleagues, are leaning towards getting some financing available. And so that's been a burgeoning market, if you will, finance, where they're coming in and taking the risk with you, and charging a percent to you and your client for the use of that money.
That makes a lot of
We,
sense.
we haven't done that yet, but that's something that we're thinking about.
It
Okay.
is certainly a trend in the industry. When you're not practicing law, what do you do for fun?
I have got a couple of dogs. I've got, of course, my biggest treasure is my marriage of over 30 years. So we're empty nesters, so I spend time with my wife when I'm not practicing law, and my dogs. And my girls are grown and they're in college and living their life, and I enjoy hearing and spending time with them about what's going on.
All right, and for our folks who are watching or listening who are in the Frisco area, where is the best place for them to go to learn more about you and the firm?
All right, great. We have a website, www.rrlfirm.com, firm.com, and that will take you to our website and show you all the areas that we practice, not only med mal, but we are diverse. One of the questions you asked earlier, how do we deal with it? We do have a part of our practice that does car wrecks and premise liability. The car wrecks are a little bit easier to turn and represent, and so those help fund our passion, which is medical malpractice. And so you can also come to our storefront. We're over here and right across from the Star where the Cowboys practice, called Hall Office Park. And so you can come to our office and check out the Cowboys, as well as meet with us.
All right. Well, this has been Seth Greene with Rusty Reynolds from rrlfirm.com. Rusty, thanks again for joining us.
You bet. Thank you very much for having me, Seth. Take care.
Our pleasure. Thank you, everybody, for watching or listening. We'll talk to you or see you next time.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.